Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
Hi there. Welcome back to Web Accessibility for All, your go-to podcast for all things web accessibility. I am Ariel, your host, and I am excited to have two familiar faces back in the show today. You may remember them from our previous episode on the ADA, the Section 508, and the WCAG. Susan, an IT accessibility auditor, and George, a junior developer who's just starting his journey into web accessibility. Alright, today we have something different to discuss. In today's episode, we are diving deep into VPAT and ARC, two critical pieces of the accessibility puzzle. What VPATs and ARCs are, how they interact, and who's responsible for them. Let's get started. Susan, George, thank you for joining me today. George, since you are just getting started with accessibility, let me ask you, have you heard about VPATs before?
I've heard people talking about these things at work, but I don't really get what they are. I know they have something to do with rules and stuff, but that's all I know.
That's a good start, my friend.
VPAT, Voluntary Product Accessibility Template.
A VPAT, or Voluntary Product Accessibility Template, is essentially a formal document that explains how accessible your product is based on specific standards like WCAG 2.2 or Section 508. It's especially important when you are selling products to government agencies or large organizations that require proof of accessibility compliance.
Yeah, that sounds right. But how is this different from what we developers actually do to make a website easy to use for everyone?
That's a great question, George. The work you do to make a site accessible is a big part of creating a VPAT. A VPAT is like a report card that shows how well your product follows accessibility rules. It's a document you give to potential customers, especially those in the government, to prove that your product is accessible. But remember, a VPAT doesn't actually make your product accessible. It's just a formal way of showing that you've done the work.
Okay, so do I have to write this thing?
Not directly. Typically, a cross-functional team handles a VPAT. As a developer, your role is to ensure that the product is accessible in the first place. That means following the accessibility guidelines when writing your code. However, the actual creation of a VPAT involves multiple people.
Accessibility specialists.
Like Susan and me, will lead the process.
QA testers.
Ensure the product is accessible by performing both manual and automated tests.
Legal or compliance teams.
We'll often review the VPAT to make sure it's accurate from a regulatory standpoint. In smaller organizations, these roles might overlap, but in larger companies, each department will contribute to the VPAT.
So, it's a team thing, but once it's done, do we just keep it the same, or do we change it later?
You're right. VPATs need to be updated often because products change a lot. It's important to keep your VPAT up to date to show that your product is still accessible.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you release a major update to your product, but your VPAT still reflects an older version, then you are essentially giving clients outdated information, and that can cause problems, especially in industries like government contracting, where accessibility compliance is a legal requirement.
ARC Accessibility Resource Center.
Okay, I think I'm getting it. But what about this thing called an ARC?
Great question. ARC, or Accessibility Resource Center, is a tool or platform used for ongoing accessibility monitoring and management. Think of it as the system that helps you keep track of how accessible your product is on a regular basis, while a BPAT is more of a static report. An ARC platform gives you real-time insights into how well your product is performing in terms of accessibility. You can set it up to run automated tests, track accessibility issues, and even generate reports for different parts of your website or app.
Let me give you an example. At my company, we use a tool called ARC to check our websites for accessibility problems. This tool runs tests regularly to find any new problems that might have been caused by changes we made. By fixing these problems right away, we avoid big problems later on and stay out of legal trouble.
So, the ARC is like a tool just for us, but the VPAT is something we show to people who want to use our website?
Exactly, they can complement each other. The ARC helps you maintain accessibility over time, and the VPAT is the formal document you provide when you need to show compliance.
Do we need both of these things? Or can we just use one?
It depends on the situation, George. For big projects or clients who care a lot about accessibility, like government agencies, you should probably use both an accessibility testing tool and a VPAT. A VPAT shows your clients that your product is accessible, while a tool like ARC can help you keep it accessible during development. For smaller projects or ones that don't change much, a VPAT might be enough. But for most modern products, especially ones that are always changing, it's a good idea to use both a tool and a VPAT.
Let me summarize it for you. Use a VPAT when you need to formally declare your product's accessibility compliance, especially when you are selling to government entities or large organizations. Use an ARC platform if you are managing a dynamic product that is frequently updated and want to ensure it stays accessible throughout its life cycle. In many cases, both are necessary, especially for larger projects.
That helps a lot. But who's in charge of this ARC thing? Is that something we developers do too?
The ARC platform is typically managed by the accessibility team or the product team in collaboration with developers and QA analysts. Developers like you would be responsible for fixing the issues flagged by the ARC platform, but an accessibility lead or specialist oversees the process and ensures the platform is configured properly. It's a collaborative effort across teams.
Product managers should also be part of this process. They need to make sure that any accessibility problems found by ARC are fixed as soon as possible. Everyone in the company is responsible for accessibility, but leaders need to make sure it's a priority.
Exactly, and it's worth mentioning that, like the VPAT, the ARC platform requires ongoing attention. It's not something that you can just set up and forget about.
This has been really helpful. I understand VPATs and ARCS much better now. It's good to know that making things accessible isn't just a one-time thing, we have to keep doing it.
That's right, George. Accessibility is a journey, not a destination. And tools like VPATs and ARCs are part of that journey. They help ensure that we are not just checking boxes, but truly creating products that everyone can use.
Closing.
Thanks a lot, Susan and George, for joining me today. I think this conversation has given our listeners a great overview of how VPATs and ARCs work together, who's responsible for them, and when they are needed.
Thank you, Ariel. It has been a pleasure participating again in this podcast with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I learned a lot today.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you found it informative and helpful. Remember, creating accessible digital experiences isn't just about complying with regulations. It's about ensuring that everyone, regardless of their abilities, can fully participate in the digital world. VPATs and ARCs are valuable tools for assessing and improving accessibility, but they are just part of the equation. By prioritizing accessibility right from the beginning, you can create more inclusive and user-friendly digital experiences that benefit everyone. Until next time, keep building with accessibility in mind. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.